One of my favorite things about type-ins is that for many of us, they were just the beginning. They weren't just programs that you'd type in and forget about. They were inspirations for creativity. There were rules to update, title screens to modify, and graphics to tweak. And sometimes, the programs themselves became a springboard for something entirely different. Earlier this year, I typed in 2 programs from the new Compute's Gazette. That's right, after being out of print for more than 30 years, they're back. Blockout is a dominoes game by Don Bangert, and the Obsidian Spire, written by Edwin Nagle, is a take on the 1981 board game called Dark Tower. Both were a lot of fun to type in and play, so when I heard there were new versions ready, I couldn't wait to try them out. Let's dive in. Blockout was inspired by Knockout, a dominoes game created by Giles Brandreth and published in a 1984 book called Solo Games. In Knockout, you start off with a row of dominoes, laid end to end in a long horizontal row. Your goal is to clear as many tiles as possible by matching the numbers. There's a lot of luck involved and winning doesn't happen often. Don Bangert's game, the one I originally typed in from Compute's Gazette, uses these basic rules, but adds a couple of twists. For starters, he added scoring. I mean, what's a computer game without the ability to get a high score? In Blockout, getting a match earns you a point, and at the end of your game, you get bonus points based on how many dominoes you used. But another more significant difference from Knockout is that you can also flip dominoes around in order to engineer a match. But, and here's the cool part, doing so costs you a point. This makes for a really interesting mechanic and adds in some strategy as you try to clear the board in the most efficient way possible. It's fun, addicting, and at about 6.5K is the perfect size for a type-in. I played it quite a bit and actually found it similar to the types of casual games we play on our phones these days. So, when Random Bit told me he had a new version in the works, I was intrigued. He started off by wanting to create some new graphics for the tiles. But then it snowballed, and what started as a graphical facelift eventually became an entirely new game. Along the way, his project, which he called Domino-Dash, evolved into something that feels remarkably polished. Updated graphics, machine language routines to keep things snappy, a fun soundtrack, and disc-based high scores were all added. But my favorite part? It's the seeds. Every game has a 4-letter seed that determines how the dominoes are laid out. This means you can share a seed with a friend and challenge them to beat your score, which in fact is something that Random Bit and I have done a couple of times. Or you can test the built-in AI. That's right, he built an AI that you can actually watch play the game. One thing I particularly enjoy is playing a match, then giving that same seed to the AI to see how it compares. It's a novel approach that you don't often see in a Commodore 64 game. And it's extremely fun when you beat the computer. The Obsidian Spire is another really fun game. Edwin Nagle, the owner and publisher of Compute's Gazette, wrote it, and it's based on a 1981 board game called Dark Tower. It's a strategy and resource management game where you need to build an army, find keys, and ultimately beat the evil force inside the tower. And that tower? You might remember it. It was a mini computer that sat in the middle of the game board, giving you the results for your turns and basically managing the game. And oh yeah, the commercial for the game, which is actually what I remember most about it, featured Orson Welles, which looking back is pretty nuts. It's a perfect game for computer translation, and Edwin did a great job. The Obsidian Spire recreates the spirit of the original faithfully. There are 3 keys to find, 4 kingdoms to explore, and all manner of unfortunate events standing in your way. And oh yeah, the game features a truly impressive collection of music and sound effects that are perfect for creating atmosphere. It was also a big type-in. At over 600 lines, it's definitely one of the largest I've ever encountered. But the code was also packed with comments and was laid out in a structured way that almost made it feel like watching a story progress. And, in a move very reminiscent of the 80s, Edwin encouraged readers to add their own changes to make it their own. Which is exactly what ToneDef did with his updates. He enjoyed the first version, but wanted something that was a bit closer to the original board game than the Obsidian Spire adaptation. Dark Tower is a challenging game, and it can even be a bit frustrating. It's you against the world, and that world is quite nasty. In the Obsidian Spire, Edwin Nagle sanded off a few of the edges, making the path to victory a bit easier. ToneDef? He went the other direction. The most significant example is with the special destinations. Each of the kingdoms has a sanctuary that helps you out when your resources run low, a shop for buying soldiers' food and special items, and tombs and ruins that can be explored for riches. In the Obsidian Spire, each of these resources is available on every square. In ToneDef's Dark Tower, they're only available on certain squares and you have to fight your way towards them, which is how the original board game did it. Which makes keeping a stocked army much more challenging. He made some other adjustments as well. He ensured that all the random events followed the exact probabilities of the board game. He added additional mechanics for battles, created new descriptive messages for clarity, and even added a fog of war for the main kingdoms. In all, the changes significantly reshaped the experience of the game, and I've got to say, they work. At first, I was shocked at how challenging it was to survive. But I soon settled into the game's rhythm and was very impressed at just how well it's all balanced. It's challenging for sure, and an untimely random event is just the worst. But the game is ultimately fair and just requires a bit of strategy as you move throughout the kingdoms to find your 3 keys, and eventually unlock the code to enter the tower and fight the army within. I love seeing this kind of creativity. It makes me think back to the kinds of changes I'd make to games when I was a kid, and it actually reminds me of today's mod scene. We were modders before we even knew what that was. But that was the point. We didn't really have a name for what we were doing. We just knew that the program we typed in from Compute's Gazette was begging for some personalization, and so we did it. It's how we learned how to program, and it was the springboard for an untold number of new games and demos. 2 games became 4, and hopefully 4 will eventually become 8. That's always been the magic of type-ins. Someone shares an idea, someone else builds on it, and before long, you have something entirely new. 40 years later, it's wonderful to see that tradition still alive. Congratulations to Don Bangert, Edwin Nagle, Random Bit, and ToneDef for their fantastic games. And thanks to Compute's Gazette for keeping the spirit of these old machines alive. I can't wait to see what new creations come from the community. Oh, and by the way, are you interested in trying these new versions? Or the originals? Well, you can. They're all available for download on our Discord. The link is in the description. And as you make changes of your own, make sure to share them. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider leaving a like or subscribing. And if you have any memories of type-ins and changes you made to your own programs, I'd love to hear them. Drop them in the comments. Hope to see you again.